we are. Okay. Right, I was on the wrong tab for a second there. It's been a while. I'm getting rusty.
Yeah. What's going on?
Just the usual fun stuff. I found out you actually can forget how to ride a bike today. And I found that out in the middle of a crowded store. And I don't think I'm supposed to go back there now. Yeah, well, because they're like, oh, this bike will definitely hold you. I'm like, no, the fuck it won't. So I had to demonstrate that, and then I crashed into stuff and knocked a bunch of shit over. And then I ate squid from McDonald's, so it's been a hell of a day.
You have the worst luck.
No, well, I did that one on purpose because I was plugging charity and all that kind of stuff. But squid equals charity in the video. Right. Don't try and think it through because I didn't.
Yeah, unless you're a squid, then it just kind of sucks. Yeah. Hi, Audrey. So just a reminder, I'm going to actually put up the quick banner thingy. Boom, because I always forget to do this. So make sure that you go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and authorize this app. Otherwise, we will not see your name. We will just see Facebook user, which is fine if you want to say Facebook user, but then we're not going to know who you are. So if you ask,
I'm probably going to make up a name, and they'll get worse the longer it goes.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to start out with Boner McGee. So, yeah,
that's cool.
Anyway, so what's going on over there?
It's gotten cold again. Yeah, it's it was actually warm for a few days, and then all of a sudden it jumped to like 45 yesterday, I think, or 40, something like that yesterday. It's like, what the hell's going on? I don't know. But well, it's April.
I don't have that problem. It was a heat index of 110 today, so yeah, kind of. Grass is always greener, or it's dead either way because it's frozen or scorched.
Oh, there's that. So we do have a guest today, which means we want to kind of move through things, and so we can bring her on. But if there is nothing else just to yap about, then I will go ahead and start the headlines.
That'll work.
All right. What do you got?
Well, you're wearing some of it. No, on the top half. I mean, this time.
Shirt designs. All right. Yeah, but you also have finished something.
Yeah, that was in there too. Finally finished Tokyo Kaiju to the point to where I hope that it is not crap when it is going through the reader's team. I enjoy it, so I'm hoping everyone else does too. But it's been a year, and yeah, what a year.
Yeah, but it's a big book too.
Yeah, over 100,000 words, so double some of the earlier PPD book sizes.
Yeah,
and triple another world.
More than triple, but yeah, so that's pretty cool. And I read it; it was all right.
Yeah, it's okay.
No, it's fun. But yeah, so that will mark the end of Mark. That is as far as his own series and stuff like that. So that will be the final book in the Southeast Asia PPD. Doesn't mean we won't be seeing Bert again. That could happen.
Yeah.
But
we might see Mark again too. Depends on how the book ends. We don't know.
More.
Well, I know, but you don't. You guys don't know how the series ends. So.
As far as what else you're talking about was this, which is T-shirt, Lurch T-shirt, and you probably can't read that. So go ahead, Noah.
Yeah, Lurch, and I can't read it from there either.
You wrote it.
I wrote it. Yeah, no, I write a lot of shit. I can't remember all of that. Do you?
Yes. All right. So it says he's full of love and the bodies of his enemies. Yeah. So anyway, but it looks like it says lunch when I've got my guitar pick and everything else on, which is also fitting if you think about it. Anyway, Lauralee actually put this together because she has like a T-shirt thingy and all that kind of stuff. So we took the image from this, and then I did like this white cutout thing around it, and then she did the T-shirt press and stuff like that.
Yeah, we should probably do that on the other one because that looks pretty cool. I like that.
Oh, you mean on the one that you did
on the TeePublic? Yeah.
Well, if you look at the directory, it's in there with this style, so you can just replace that image if you want. It should work. Sorry. You would think I wouldn't have allergies when it's 40 fucking degrees outside, but here we are.
You're allergic to snow.
Oh, next thing. So we have, this is a poker chip with Bert's face on it, which is pretty cool. And on the back, it says E pluribus demonicus $1 million chip, which is, you know, what, pocket change for Bert, but still everything else. Are there a lot of these? No, this is, I think, it.
Yeah.
So if people want this, well, pay in advance. And we'll have more made. So yeah, which also, you know, remember you did this one too, which is a mini flask, and it actually inspired Lauralee to get some flasks, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to order some mini flasks too." The ones she got were quite a bit bigger. They were more like this size.
Yeah, that's a one hitter, or what do you call it in there? A one shot or whatever. 1 ounce. Those are words that you use. Yeah.
No, to me, this is John gets drunk.
Yeah, that's why I said you take half of it and then you save the rest for later.
We've seen it happen. Finally, not finally, actually. One more thing. I also finished the 3rd book of Lassiter, which means the Lassiter trilogy is complete. It's with one team right now, and I'm going to be giving it to the other team today. So it'll be moving to Team Dam today, and that means that I will be releasing those 3 books probably in a few weeks. Probably start moving a little bit quicker on that. Oh, and the E-Index E-Index Unleashed, the first 7 books plus 3 short stories box set is on a countdown deal right now on Amazon for only $4.99. So, and it's freaking flying off the shelves too, which is really cool. Anyway, so, you know, take a look at that if you're interested. Finally, I posted this on the group, but I just wanted to kind of show it in you know, 3D or whatever. This is the hardcover version of, well, it's my first hardcover, and it's kind of neat because what I did was I actually had tried to do this with, how is it, Netherworld, I think. Oh, no. It was with the vaccine zombies. I tried to do it with that, and unfortunately, it was too large. It wouldn't fit. So that's what she said. So this was at 500 and carry the one, I don't know, 500 and some pages. You can't go over 550, which sucks. But anyway, so I happen to be looking at the Arthur's Dysfunctional Knights because we're going to be doing a sort of a live radio play of it, you know, with me, Chris, Just, and Matt. We're going to be doing basically 3 versions of it. One of them is going to be a live radio play where we actually have sounds and all that kind of crap. It's not live like you all will see it live. Sorry. It's just us we're doing a fucking radio play. The second one is that we won't do any of the sounds and stuff like that. So it's just an audio book with different voices in it. And then the third one is the same idea, except for with all warts. We're not going to have things where, like, you know, somebody has to take a bathroom break and we just sit there quiet for 15 minutes laughing. But we're going to have it like if there are mistakes and bloopers and everything else, we're not going to cut those. So we're going to have all 3 versions of those available. And we're planning to put it on YouTube. So that way it'll still be on Audible and all that crap if you want it, but you can grab it on YouTube for free. So anyway, doing that, I just tried this and said, well, will this fit? And it was under the 550. Actually, it's like around 520 or 530 or something like that range. So put it together and it freaking looks great.
Yeah, did you ever do the science fiction fantasy book club or whatever is kind of like the Columbia House thing?
No.
It kind of reminds me of those books, the way that those covers are done. So yeah, well, never mind then. But it looks like that. Yeah, the thing that's nice and thick, and that's what she does. Never said, but
well, you know, it may not be thick, but at least it's short. Okay, so let me go ahead and bring in the joke of the day. That's not you, Claire. Sorry. This is actually that's later. This is actually the joke of the day.
Now, I'm hoping we didn't do this one before because it sounds familiar, but let's see. All right. Well, everyone knows Charles Dickens is a famous author of great classics. Lesser known as a short-lived apple cider business. He had to close it after complaints of unexpected pregnancies. It may seem strange, but what do you expect when you have Dickens cider? Yeah. Well, I've got this one too. It's even stupider. 2 goldfish are in her tank. One says to the other, "Do you know how to drive this thing?"
Wow.
Yeah. Let's quit while we're ahead because they get worse.
And Claire disconnected. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
All right. So I also know that this happens to be a holiday weekend for some, and well, sorry, but here we are. Happy holidays to those of you who believe stuff.
Believe, celebrate, whatever.
Exactly. And all. So let's go ahead then and bring in Claire, unless there's anything else you need to add real quick.
No.
All right. We're bringing in Claire. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Yeah, we were going off on, we don't do sexist things and stuff. And then I looked at the joke for this week. Oh, shit. Yeah.
Oh, no, that was a good one. If it's literary,
never
it's
good
fine.
ones. Yeah.
So how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, totally. I remember you and I met actually in Austin, Texas at Martha Carr's Summit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fun. I mean, we had a good time, I thought.
We did. Yeah. It was nice to have someone else catch my dirty jokes that I tried to sneak in.
Oh, they were great. I was there. At first, I'm sitting here going, uh-oh, we have one serious person in the room. And then I find out, nope. Turns out you have a look of, I'm a very serious person. And then
I know. I look like I'm really into HOAs. That's unfortunately the face I was born with.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to run off to Google here and oh yeah, I know what that means. Who said I didn't?
But it was we had a good time, and actually we learned a lot while we were there, and unfortunately didn't get to go to the second year. Was it still just as fun?
Yeah, sure. I don't remember.
It's like nobody ran between, got cars stuck or anything that year or anything, so it was okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think there was any borderline international incidents or anything like that.
Yeah, that was pretty wacky that night, and everything got stolen from the car and stuff. We talked about that when Martha was here, and it was just like, what the hell happened?
Yeah, it was a streak of luck there.
Well, unless you're Brandon. But which I thought was great. Hi, Carolyn. I thought it was great because, he comes out, he's like,
wasn't you?
They stole my laptop. And I'm like, yeah, I got mine. Here. So it's just like bittersweet. I'm just like, oh man, my laptop's still here. They stole mine. I'm a dick.
Yeah. Sucks to be you, but hooray for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember I just kept on wanting to go to Whataburger, and I still do.
Mm-hmm.
God. But anyway, yeah. So cool. Well, we have a bunch of questions and stuff and all that kind of junk, but just in general, the second time I think you and I talked was on the Authors and Dragons podcast or something.
Yeah. It was Splam. It was a short-lived podcast.
Didn't work out.
Yeah, people just realized how much work it was, I think. So it was fun while it lasted. I think we got maybe like 15 episodes in.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So what are you up to today then, as far as all that kind of junk? You kind of hiding in the weeds right now, or what's up?
No, I host the Sell More Books show now. So with Brian Cohen.
Okay.
So yeah, that show just hit 7 years, and I wasn't there the whole time, but I've stepped in for the last year and change. So I do that every week, and then of course I write, and then I do story consulting as well.
Oh, okay,
so
cool.
Been a lot of my time.
Developmental editing type stuff, or
yeah, it's a specific service called the Story Alignment. So it's like an hour one-on-one call. So I get authors who are either stuck or feel like the story needs a little something, or whatever. They'll fill out a little form about their story, and then we dive in and we get it going and get it charged up and back in working order. So I do that, and then I have some courses that I've kind of been building up, and then mostly I write fiction.
Well, it's great, because one of the things that we do on this show is, we actually have a writing boot camp where we go through a bunch of stuff that, because what we do is comedy primarily, as you know, and so do you, I know. But so, we have a lot of people who come in and are just like, oh, I want to try something, try my hand at that and so on. So we've gone through a whole bunch of things. And actually, some of the questions I'm going to ask you are specific to that. So I think it'll work out great. What's the latest book you've done?
Let's see. The latest one I put out was Killhaven Police 4, Deep Shift. So that was
yeah, I like the titles on those. Those are nice.
Yeah. So that's shift work, then same old shift, then shift out of luck, and then deep shift.
So they're very serious novels.
They're very super super serious discussion of police reform.
So
what and moving on from there. So yeah.
Yeah. So what is the genre for that one specifically?
That one is paranormal police comedy. It's like a police procedural.
I should try that someday. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. I started writing those a while ago, and then kind of was intermixing them here and there when I needed a break from my main series, my other series. And so I just wrapped up the first arc at book 4. There will be more later, a little bit different version of it. Mm-hmm. But that first story arc is complete with Deep Shift. So yeah, I mean, it's I guess I've been told it kind of is urban fantasy, but it's written much more like a police procedural. And actually my husband, who is a police officer, had to read the first one to make sure that I wasn't like making cops look bad or something. I'm like, okay, like I understand that maybe they wouldn't say that exact thing over the radio, but it's also, we're dealing with a vampire here. So it's not 100% realistic,
Totally urban fantasy if you're dealing with a vampire. And don't let them read our stuff because it's totally not right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in theory, it would be authentic if someone happened to be a major dick and, all these kind of other things. Just, for the sake of argument, But you've also got like a standalone I was looking at here for Wimbledon, Kentucky that looked interesting.
Yeah, that was one I wrote a very long time ago. And I actually took one of the characters from that and moved him as kind of an antagonist into my Jessica Christ series. But Wimbledon, Kentucky is just a little novella. It's really the only thing that I've written that's set outside of Texas. But I wrote that back in like college, I think. I just wanted to write some satire for my creative writing class because I just wanted to
works out really.
I wanted to be subversive because I was so sick of it by my senior year of everyone being like, "Oh, we're gonna do literary fiction about a man with a drinking problem who's depressed again." Like, no. So I started writing that and turned that in, and then I, the first like 40 pages, and then I just worked on that. So that was that. That's still one of my favorites, actually. Even though I wrote it so long ago, it's just a nice short little. It's just satire about a global cooling crisis that this little town is put in charge of fixing because they're the ones that realized that it was there. So everyone's like, well, it's your problem now. So it's about this dinner party where they're trying to decide how to fix the global cooling. And so it's just, it's a little comedy of errors.
Cool. Yeah. I like the little fun things. How did that actually go in class? Because when in my creative writing classes, anytime I tried to use humor, it was always, sacrilege, which.
It went well, I think. I mean, that was a weird. I mean, it was up against like adult Power Rangers and stuff like that. So I guess in contrast, it was all right. But I also drank a lot of Kahlua in that class, so I don't remember. Kahlua.
That's my favorite.
No, it's coffee, but it makes you happy.
Yeah, don't threaten me with a good time in a 10 a.m. creative writing senior seminar.
Ooh, 10 a.m. And
yeah, that my good time would still be in bed. Yeah.
Well, I guess that's going to pretty much answer this question.
What got you into writing?
Kahlua.
Alcoholism? What are you implying here?
You're the one who said it.
No, I started writing a long time ago. So, I mean, I think I was like 8 years old and I was homeschooled for a good portion of my life, which you're going to go, this is starting to come together. Yeah. But I was like in a little writing group when I was 8 where we would have like some words each week and have to do a little prompt on them. And so that was really fun. And then I just kind of kept writing, and I would like handwrite just journals and journals in like 5th grade of fantasy stuff, and kind of just kept going throughout school. And then eventually went to college for it. Just wanted to keep doing it, and no one got in my way long enough, I guess.
So is that what you have a degree in then?
Yeah. English, creative writing. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, that'll be the next one I collect. I don't have enough of them yet.
It's completely useless, in case you're wondering.
Yeah, it seems like, like the 4 I have, I don't think any of them seem to really be useful after you get the interview. So, but I actually want to teach creative writing and things. So that's,
you can do that without the degree.
Yeah.
Not to be on the books and all that kind of stuff. I'll have to get a master's I'm in Thailand though. So it could be a little bit different.
You can just do online courses.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's my actual career.
I'm just
online courses.
I think my creative writing degree was like the biggest stifling to my creativity. Like it took me a couple years to get over it and like get back into writing. Like I didn't really write out of college. I was also busy like trying to, make money. But it took a while before I could start to write comedy again after that and like really sit and write and enjoy it again, because I was overthinking it. And then it was sort of that like, oh, but traditional publishing is the only way to go. And you have to do X, Y, and Z to please them, and it was, I mean, at the time, KDP wasn't really a thing, right? Like the self-publishing wasn't really happening. But yeah, eventually I was like, okay, maybe like if I'm going to do this, it should be fun.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, taking when I didn't get my programming degree until like 2012 or something like that, but I've been a programmer forever. And so I finally just went back to college, get it and all that kind of stuff. And because I had been doing it for long enough, I knew what they were teaching was stupid. But as they were teaching us, I mean, your basic stuff, fine. But when they started getting into, let's go into deep papers and how to do this and this and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, you guys don't live in the real world. And so if I had actually absorbed all of that and tried to apply it to my career at the time, I would have been a worse programmer for doing so. So really, I did it. If I could have just said, here's the $50,000 or whatever the frick it was, just give me my degree, kind of thing. It probably would have been a better use of my hours, frankly, because they taught stupid shit. And not only that, from 2012, they had textbooks from 2006. This is computer science. What? Yeah. It was really stupid. My wife has a master's degree in English and in linguistics, and she's a jeweler.
Right.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the computing book. It's like the latest trend, DOS. Yeah. What is it?
I mean, she was an editor for 5 years. She did a lot of stuff, and she used it. And every time I throw stuff at her, she's just like, and then she's just like,
I mean, that was kind of my jumping off point of being able to like go full time was I was doing editing on the side, because I did it in-house for like a year at a romance company, publishing company. And then after reading romance 40 hours a week for, a year and change, I was like, I should probably go into education. That's clearly somewhere it's lacking.
That was the thing, romance, because they come out like a flood of, I mean, you can, as an editor, you can find romance authors.
Well, I mean, it wasn't so much just the romance genre. It was just so mass produced and like, so I was like, okay, maybe we should go help some people earlier in life. And then I did education, and then I did editing again. And then
that was actually one of the other questions was.
Oh, sorry. Don't mean to.
It's okay.
Jump ahead.
I'm jumping.
Please anticipate things that you have no clue he's going to ask about.
Question 5. What did you do before becoming an author?
Let's see.
After welding, it was.
I worked at Barnes & Noble for a while. I waited tables. I tutored at this private tennis academy. I taught at a charter school. I edited romance full time, and then eventually I quit it all and went full-time writing.
So of all of those that you said, what was your favorite?
Obviously, working with people and food, that had to be the best.
Yeah, it was not waiting tables, that's for sure.
See, to me, I was thinking Barnes and Noble, but
Barnes and Noble it sounds really fun, but people are very rude to retail workers.
I worked retail all over the place. I worked in a bookstore, and it's like, why would you bring in gum to a bookstore? I mean, it's stuff like that.
Well, the very first day that I worked, because I would work like holidays and stuff, and so because I was in college at the time, but it was like the very first day I was there, they put me in the children's department, which was huge in the store, and someone shit on the floor. So that was. But the terrible thing was, I was walking and I was cleaning up books, and I looked, and it's just one turd. It was just one turd. And I was like, that is unsettling, because there's more somewhere else.
Yeah. Well,
no one just drops one turd. It was just like a kid just dropped a turd and wandered off. And I was like, first of all, parental supervision is a great idea. But then I was like, okay, well, this is my first day. I'm not acquainted with turd protocol. I don't know what we do here.
You got to sign off on the special training. Yeah.
It might not have been, because they did have an adult pooper who would come once every couple weeks, come in and shit somewhere in one of the aisles.
Building?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Well, haven't you've read that book, Everybody Poops in a Bookstore?
Yeah. I don't know. I think it must have been like Pavlovian, like a lot of people read when they're taking a shit. So maybe like every time this guy gets around books, he's like, oh, I just can't hold it. And he just drops a deuce. I don't know.
I can see that. Especially on Easter weekend, he's in the religion section. Well. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I did have someone curse me out on Christmas Eve there. So that was super fun. Using the Lord's name in vain at me.
Nice.
I was trying to check her out. Yeah, I was like, okay, Karen, let's move along.
So always the bless your hearts and all that. As soon as you say, no, you can't use this discount from a different store that expired 5 years ago, they go from, oh, well, sweetie, you don't obviously know this, to you fucking bitch, I'll have your job and all this stuff. And those are the nice ones.
And since it's in Texas, I don't know if y'all are familiar with the Hank the Cowdog books. They're like a children's series. Hank the Cowdog, it's like a Texas staple. And people would come in on Christmas Eve and be like, I need a Hank the Cowdog #1. I'm like, we're out of #1. Like, sorry, bitch, she should come last week.
Yeah, and that's your fault, right?
Yeah, right. Or they'd come in and they'd be like, I need to get a gift, a book for my daughter. And I'm like, well, what's she into? And it's like, horses. I'm like, well, how about just this parenting book about getting to know your child? I can recommend that to you. It's like, and it's like, oh, horses. Oh, we have one book on horses. I know exactly. Like, no, we have.
Yeah, it's called Animal Husbandry. So I'd suggest that one. Yeah, I actually, if I would get those and they were not working with me, I would give them the worst suggestion I could, because I did not care about my job at all. So I would have been like, you want horses? Okay, here's one. It's Animal Husbandry, so that means that there's a husband and a wife, horses, and then they meet each other.
When a horse loves another horse, yeah,
when they love them into a plastic cup.
Exactly. Now I know there's a man on the cover, yes, but it's called Hung Like a Horse. So he
wears a tie.
We did have a fun, the penthouse section, and sometimes people would come and turn the books facing out.
Sometimes people would come when they look at the penthouse section.
Yeah. I mean, that was the best case, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah. I know. I like the people that are the thought police that come around and turn all these. Yeah, they do that, or they'll hide books on stuff they don't think. Well, wizardry is the devil, so it goes, over here and all that. They're like, okay. Then okay, that's all right. I didn't have anything to do for the next 4.5 hours anyway, because I've seen 3 customers, so I'll just fix your stuff. We can do this the whole time. I'll just follow right next, behind you.
At this point, I'm starting to wonder why he's not laying on a couch. Just let it all out, Noah.
Yeah, no, these are the level 1 retail worker stuff. It gets so much worse from all these kind of things.
Yeah, I worked in customer service for an online company for GE.
Yeah, the face-to-face people, because you'll every once in a while someone will take a swing at you. and that adds a little spice to it.
Piece.
Yeah, I'm not saying I didn't always deserve it, or but I'm like,
I understand. So far, now I want to talk to that guy.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next question.
Yeah.
What started the Jessica Christ series? Divine inspiration. Can I say that?
Sure.
No, it was not. I was teaching at the time, and I was teaching 8th, 9th, and 10th grade English. And so these kids are coming from all kinds of backgrounds, but it was really just, I was seeing, because at 8th grade is really the point where I started to feel it and where I started to see it in other people, girls holding themselves back to, be more liked or whatever.
Yeah, it's when puberty kicks in, that's horrible for teaching age. I would never do middle school and junior high. I just wouldn't be able to
it was it smelled awful all the time. So I had to mouth breathe for about a year. But it was just like, I remember when I was in 8th grade and I, going from, I think it was 7 to 8 or 8 to 9 or something like that. But I started looking around and going, why did all the girls get really stupid? What is this? And I would raise my hand and have the answer, and everyone would hate me because I knew the answer. And then I was like feeling that pressure to dumb myself down. And so it's really like having experienced that and then starting to see it with like the high achieving girls who are losing social status by knowing the answer. It was really that sort of that got me thinking about like how much of this is like, because a lot of them, they're like, well, I want to do this, but like, I don't want to go to college because I just want to be a good wife and raise a family. And I was like, oh no, no, like if that's what you want, fine, but like, you're in 8th grade. Like, why are you already thinking about who is telling you this, So that is more about what the series is. It's, it's in the context of what if God had a daughter and how would she be treated? Would she be, subjected to the same sort of patriarchal norms? Or would she, be revered or whatever? And how would growing up be for, a young female, who can talk to God, and God in my story is just kind of a weirdo. But so that's what got me thinking about it. And it's always been more of like a feminist story. And I have plenty of readers who are Christian, who are atheist, who are agnostic. So it's always been less about religion and more a story of trying to grow up as a female in Texas, because it's set in Texas. And I'm in Texas, so that's why I said it in Texas. And those challenges of trying to step up and be a leader when so much is telling you like it's just easier to be quiet.
Yeah, so. I read the first book and I thought it was actually really funny, but I did catch that. I was honestly expecting it to be, kind of religion bashing and Christopher Moore style, right? And so on. And it wasn't, which disappointed me a little.
Sorry.
I'm just kidding. It wasn't. It was, but it was funny, but it also did make me see what you're talking about and understand that. It's interesting because obviously from a male perspective, it's hard to see that perspective. However, on the male side, it's more a case of, are you good at sports? Are you good at this? Are you good at that? And if you're not, you're a jock. If you are, if you're not, you're a nerd or you're just an outcast or whatever. So answering questions in class and such, I happen to be able to do both. But what I learned was it's better to do sports and be good at that. So I focused a lot of my attention there. It's better to do that, and also playing music and stuff. You play the guitar,
right?
And like, oh, this guy, all that kind of crap. So you have that versus, and also be the cut up in class. But I knew the answers, I just didn't say them. And it's just, so it's similar to that. And it's like prior to that year, as it were, you'd answer the questions all the time. And then that year you started answering, people started kind of eyeballing you. So I think it actually happens across the board just for different reasons. I can be a good wife, for example.
Yeah,
definitely. And it's like more time is spent on the makeup, and I was like, do I need to start wearing makeup? What am I doing? So I'm getting that, like, when I was in 8th, 9th grade, just the like bright blue eyeshadow, like, yeah, this will do it.
So if you're living in Austin, you can pull it off. But I mean, outside of there, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, I did not pull it off.
It's a good point that there's outcasts of all kinds of people. Like I was never the raise your hand kind of person, just because of being on the spectrum and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, obviously, I can't relate to the feminist or not feminist perspective, because feminism is just being people, who you should be. But as far as the struggle that goes along with that. So it's interesting.
I hope that people can relate to it. That's why I tried to write these books.
No, so that
it felt more universal. Yeah.
And I can't relate like you would, because this is something you lived. But to read it and then try and expand your horizons, like we try to do.
Yeah, and I really do. I did get that from what you wrote, and I thought it was great, and I did get a lot of laughs along the way too. So
yeah, the thou shalt not break up this mega hot cat fight gets a lot of laughs. That line, I'm like, oh great, of course. But yeah, and then I mean, like in book 2 and 3, she's starting to discover her miracles, and they're all relevant. So that's that was really fun to write, because that it's she can do the miracles that she needs to perform to convince people of who she is. So like the first one she discovers is she can never miss a field goal when she kicks. So that's building her credibility in Texas. Suddenly she's the hero, and people like her a lot more because she can win their high school football games. Right. So, so that is kind of like what you're talking about, like, where is the value that we put in kids? And it's still sports, it's all these things that's where, if you want to get your message out, if you want to be heard and seen and valued, what do you have to do growing up?
Well, not only growing up, that's reality in general. I mean, if you bring something to the table, people listen to you. Or if you just have, congratulations on your face situation, you could be dumb as shit, but if you're good looking, you have a platform.
It makes it easier.
Yeah. That's how I've got where I am.
Exactly.
Nobody should have been laughing at that point.
I mean, no one could shit in the bookstore. Nobody'd care.
I might have, yeah.
So I'm gonna.
I'll never tell.
I should probably just take the question numbers out, but I'm jumping to question number 6 because plotter or pantser?
Plotter.
Big time?
No, not big time. I write beats, and I mean, I have it all. Usually my beats are maybe like 4,000 or 5,000 words for like a 60,000 word book. So just what the scene is, what it does for the, the conflict and the themes and stuff, and maybe some funny stuff that might happen that I think of as I go through. And then I just write off of that. And sometimes it completely derails, and that's fine. I just like to see where I'm going, even if sometimes I have to go, whoop, over here. So,
right. Yeah, so you're kind of the planter, like they say. I mean, you start out with that and give yourself.
I call it plotted pants.
Mm-hmm. Plotting right into your pants. Yeah,
exactly. I think it's exactly what we've been teaching for through our boot camps and stuff like that. Is some people will pants completely. I pants a number of books where I'll just sit down and go, oh, I have this character. Sit down and just go. And, next thing you know, 60,000 words are done. And it's just like, okay, I'm happy with that. And then I go to the next book. And then I tend to start having to plot a little more with each, book that comes after, because otherwise you will start writing yourself into a direction that doesn't fit what happened.
It starts tightening your options.
You start closing the walls on yourself over the course of time, which is also, I think, why some series run their course, because you get to the point where there's really nowhere else you can go out of this unless you explode, which we have done with some of my series. I've done that, but it really depends. So it's interesting to know how different people do this.
Yeah, I mean, my process has evolved obviously over the course of everything, but now I figure out my book level theme, my series level theme. I do 1-word themes. And then my protagonist's Enneagram type, my antagonist's Enneagram type. And that really plots the journeys and the conflicts that they're going to have. And then that's kind of like, as long as I have those things, then I can plot as much as I need or adjust and that sort of thing.
So one question about that. What was all of that?
Enneagram.
No, it sounds interesting. So I'm being silly, but I want, because the people that do write and everything, I think they would benefit.
Yeah, so the Enneagram it's a personality profile, but unlike, Myers-Briggs, it's not full of shit. It's like motivation based, core motivation based. So there's 9 types, and it's a core fear and core desire of each type. And so then you kind of see how that motivates. So it's very good for character development because it is all about motivation. And so you have, different sort of functions as like symptoms of those motivations that are driving people. So it's usually for people, but I use it for fiction because it creates this really deep character that you can sense, and you can just develop it really, like it's kind of like a hack to get to know your character, and then you know exactly how to get them to do the things that you want them to do. Because if you need to get them from point A to point B, and you know whatever their core fear is, you just stick something in there that activates that core fear and drives them.
Right.
So it's a very, it can be really complicated, and a lot of my story coaching is based around the Enneagram and using that. But that's kind of the rundown of it.
From like the business thing, it kind of reminds me of a SWOT analysis a little bit, because you're getting your strengths and weaknesses and what's stepping in the way and all that kind of stuff. So, and that's cool. And so people over here go back over that, look at it, and then give Claire money so she can explain it to you in person.
I have a ton of you find me on YouTube or Instagram. There's a bunch of free Enneagram stuff for that.
Oh, cool. Okay, so let's see. Who are your favorite authors?
Kurt Vonnegut is probably my favorite. Douglas Adams, William Goldman, Louise Penny.
Don't know that one.
She writes mysteries. And
okay.
J.K. Rowling / Robert Galbraith. I know that's unpopular to say right now, but I love those books. And let's see, gosh, so many. I'll stop there. There.
Yeah,
So
see, I've only read one Vonnegut, so it's interesting. What about his stuff makes it the first one that came to your mind?
The first Vonnegut that came to my mind?
No, I mean, that was the first name that came up.
Oh, he's like so darkly funny and like rude and just cutting. I mean, his stuff is very outrageous in parts, but it's also not outrageous. And the fact that he was writing a lot of this in like the 60s and 70s, into the 90s, it's so prescient still. Like it's just, he makes these jokes about things that are still, I'm like, he was way ahead of his time with comedy.
Yeah, I did kind of like in my head, I'd be like, oh, you catty bitch.
Oh, such a catty bitch. And I love it. And, so I've really grown into him. Like when I was younger, I didn't really get it, but it was kind of funny. And I really liked, Sirens of Titan was one of my favorites just because it's kind of wacky all over the place. You end up on different planets. But so much of it is just amazing. And I mean, just the characters, he writes these really, especially in his later years, he writes these really unlikable first person narrators who are just defending themselves. These old washed up dudes that are just defending these horrible things they've done. And so it puts people on blast, and it's great. So
if there was one book of his that you would say people should start with?
Oh my gosh. I mean, Sirens of Titan is a good place to start because there's a lot going on outside of the humor. Just more interesting plot stuff. I wouldn't say Slaughterhouse-Five is usually the one that people start with, it's fine. It's okay.
I think it was a mistake because that's kind of where I stopped. I was like, yeah, that was all right, but I don't get the hype. So
no, that one was not great. Let me see. I've got my little Kurt Vonnegut. Timequake was one I recently read on vacation. Timequake is a really fun one. It's a later work of his. And he really blurs the line of writer versus narrator. So you're like, is this Vonnegut? But it's not Vonnegut, but the character's name is Vonnegut.
So it's like a Hunter S. Thompson kind of thing?
Yeah, but it's clearly fake, but there's parts of his life that he kind of draws from. So it's just fun to see someone play with the form so much.
Now, do you find that you borrow from that in your own writing?
Yeah. I think that playing around with the form is one of my favorite things to do, and just to kind of break some of the rules that people have about that sort of thing. And just the sort of over the top characters, the absurdity that he does a lot. I definitely borrow from that.
Okay. Yeah. So we have a question that came in.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever base your characters on people you have known? Legally speaking, no.
But from the standpoint of
there are certain traits and things from certain archetypes.
I mean, we all I think do it, but we don't say Steve Smith,
No, I definitely, and especially in Killhaven Police, because so much of it. So the premise of that series is it starts with it follows a rookie in the police. He's just graduated the academy. He's done his field training time in book 1, and he's a human in a city that's mostly paranormals. And they're out and about. People know about the paranormal. So his field training officer is a female werewolf who's like an army veteran from the South American conflict that you kind of learn a little bit more about. And she's like a badass bitch and scares the absolute shit out of him. But so there's the kind of that power differential. But then a lot of the stuff that a lot of the characters in that who are so zany are pulled straight out of like my husband's experience on the force. Like there are some absolute Looney Tunes, like where you're like, this person can't be real. Not like in a harmful way, but just like they're just cartoon characters, And so like there's one scene in, I think it's the second book, where it's sensitivity training. Mm-hmm. And they have to go through sensitivity training at one point, and it's just the guy giving it is clearly on blow, like he's a complete maniac, and he doesn't have any emotional vocabulary. And he's yelling at them and calling them names because they're not listening to the sensitivity training. And like, this is kind of a realistic scenario.
Oh, totally.
I've paid for a conference where the speaker at the end got so nervous he just started yelling at people and didn't know what he was doing. Yeah. And he's like, "You people need to listen. This is like, well, no, I just came here to read my paper and get my points and go home."
Right.
When I worked at AOL, there was actually a sign that said sexual harassment training. And so a lot of people signed up. It wasn't what they thought it was going to be.
The proper groping technique. Exactly. You really need to.
We went there. Wait, this has nothing to do with what we thought it was going to be. This sucks.
Yeah, well, it depends which one you get. If you get the Amish version where it's. I brushed up against her elbow, so whip me until I die.
Well, what was funny is that this poster is a big freaking, and they were all over the place. I mean, AOL was huge, right? And so you walk down any place and you see these massive posters that shows this woman wearing a very tight dress, right? And nothing not revealed, as it were, right? And she's just like, and it says sexual harassment training. So all the guys are like, yeah, we're signing up for that.
Yes, please.
So maybe this was the trap. If you showed up for that class and they knew you needed it. So.
Right.
Exactly.
And now you're on a registry. Good job.
Oh, well. That's why I became a full-time author.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially like Killhaven Police is so fun to write because my husband comes home and he's not one of those like really like, oh, work was fine. Like, I'm like, give me the stories, give me these stories. So a lot of the story, I know. And I'm like, don't hold back. I want to hear all of it, like all the weird stuff. Yeah. And so a lot of the stories, because it's kind of episodic in that, the story
like
takes place over. Huh?
It's foreplay.
Yeah, I mean, you've been talking to
him. Setting the mood is,
Yeah. Ooh, tell me what body fluid is on your shoe tonight. Yeah.
Well, it's a cocktail, as Jimmy usually does. He was shitting in the bookstore, and
I mean, he's texted me like, I have blood from 2 people on me right now, and like it's not mine. I'm like, okay, we'll just take 2 showers before you get in bed tonight. But so like using those, because the book is set up very much like the story that takes place and the drama that's taking place is taking place at the setting of a bunch of different calls. Like that's kind of late. And so I just get to pull from him. And then I ended up creating as like my, sort of reader incentive, the Killhaven Police Blotter. And so people sign up to my newsletter, and every week they get a year's worth of police blotter sent to them. So they get a couple stories of what's happening in Killhaven, so like pulling over an octopus shifter prostitute, giving like a really good hand job kind of thing. And then, like fighting a kangaroo shifter who's, like stolen stuff in its pocket. And now it's like fighting the cops in the parking lot kind of thing. So just wild, wacky stuff that's happening from Killhaven.
This isn't my pouch, I swear. It's my friend's pouch. Yeah.
Right. So we have all kinds of fun, I mean,
and you send kind of like a couple times a week.
I set it up so it's a year's subscription. So I've written over 100 of them, and then I send them out like each week. Someone will get a couple more. And so, yeah.
So it's staggered. So you're not going to get the same one if you sign up this week than if you did next week. So it's your whole cycle.
Yeah. You get a year's worth. And so it's kind of, I may someday compile it all into sort of the Killhaven blotter book. But for now, it's just like a fun little thing you can get in your inbox where you're like, oh no, more bills. Oh, my boss is such an asshole. Oh, look, here's something about like killer clowns, like I'll read this,
my boss by dressing up like a clown.
So
I recently started a one with a thing called Cave Times, which is just a story about Neanderthals and stuff like that. And it basically is you sign up for the automation and you get one chapter a week. And so far I'm up to chapter 8, but it's only delivered 3, I think. And so it just keep writing like one a day or so and try to get it so it lasts a good long time. So have you found success with that?
Yeah, I mean, people really like it. They email me all the time, like saying, thank you for sending this each week, and it was a huge pain in the ass to do. I mean, to get that set up and be like, oh, I need 2 more stories today. Okay, what am I, I have to make up shit. Like I'll just make up some new creature and have it do something weird and illegal. And like, so I have like, I have the Cherubim Mafia and I have like, leprechaun gangs and stuff. And so, I'm just coming up with new stuff. So it's great now that it's done, but it was like zapping all of my creativity.
You've made up your story Bible in the background, so you can pull all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Which is cool.
Idea. That's a very cool.
Yeah. Idea. How big are these usually? Because I can't imagine going on for too long.
No, the blotters are just like, there may be like 2 paragraphs. It's like an actual police blotter, like an announcement of the things that have happened. So it's written like, a police announcement or something of, like this were-bison ramming a car because his girlfriend, he thought this guy had been cheating with his girlfriend kind of thing. And so, it's just random little things and them being arrested and,
What is this? Why is this 2% milk? But no, it's cool because I was writing out we'd been talking about stuff that we will probably never get to, but I wrote out some like profiles on people in hell of like, oh yeah, this one's Steve, he used to be in this organization that we won't talk about and he died blowing as one of his people, so every time he comes and says something he spits out a wad of cum, so that's his profile. I'm not doing, I'm not doing anything with it, but it's like the compendium of all the people in hell and what their punishment is.
I think you need to do that amphibian thing she was talking about. I don't remember the name. I don't think it was amphibian, but
the octopus shifter.
No. Your process for
characters with their motivations and shit.
Oh, the Enneagram.
That's the one. Yeah,
it's a little like amphibian. You're very close.
What was it? The anal egram.
Yeah, the analgram.
The anal egram. I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that sounds like something out of a John Waters movie. So,
all right, next.
How long does it take me to write a book? It depends on the book.
Yeah, I was gonna say defining what size the book.
I have a cozy paranormal cozy mystery pen name, and I can write those in about 3 weeks because they're like 45,000 words, and then. The Jessica Christ series, those books, especially towards the end, I had really set myself up for some trouble with that one. Just being like, she has to do X, Y, and Z, and I was like, well, how do I do that? I don't know how that works. So those were getting to like over 100,000 towards the end of the series a piece. And so those took months because I would write it and then I'd be like, I need to take a break and I'd go write another book. Yeah. So I usually have like 3 or 4 projects going on at a time. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to say, but if I really focus on one, I can knock it out in 3 to 6 weeks.
Are they in different stages of development or you just happen to just switch over as you go?
Yeah, they're usually in different stages of development. So right now I'm working on building up 5 books in my next comedy series, which is going to be a space comedy. And so I've been kind of chipping away at that. And then I also have these like detective crime novels that I've been working on because I'm really into that lately. And so I'm starting a new pen name, which I'm not going to tell anyone about. But so I have a couple of those ready to go to launch. And then
Are those
I have.
serious?
Huh?
Are those more serious or something?
Yes.
I got you.
Those are not comedy.
Okay.
They're about serial killers.
Oh, okay.
And so that's my like true crime like streak over there that I'm doing that
I was
with.
wondering why you were jumping pen names. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Very, very different serial killer book than the one I sent her. So
yeah, it's not a comedy. And so I have like, right now I have 4 different pen names that I write under. So I kind of just move around so I can satisfy whatever need I have.
Yeah, we've talked about that. So, and can you maybe, especially, for people that come in and watch this, about the pen names, how do you justify a new pen name?
It's usually content rating. So like H. Claire Taylor is my original name. That's my Jessica Christ. And then I did Brock Bloodworth originally as the sole writer of Killhaven Police, because I had a feeling that people would be less inclined to pick up a book if I had on like police and paranormal and all this dark shit if it had a female's name on it. So I came up with a male pen name, and then that was too much work. So now it's co-written by me and by me. So it's H. Claire Taylor and Brock Bloodworth.
Those people must not have known the women I've known, because it's
yeah. No, I mean, it's a thing that we can be dark too, but bias still exists. And when it comes to selling, you need to get rid of all those initial biases. So, so I did that. And then if you go look at my profile picture for Brock Bloodworth, it's just me with a mustache. So it's not really a secret anymore. But, and then so that was, all comedy. And then I started Paranormal Cozy Mystery. And that is so clean. There's no cursing. There's no on-page sex or violence. So I needed to have a different pen name. So I did that. And then for the other one, this new one that I'm starting, it's just not that funny. And I want it to start fresh and create, like, that's going to be my main one. So I've kind of shut down my Cozy Mystery pen name mostly. I don't do much with that anymore, even though it's still making me plenty of money. And I'm writing like 1 book this year in it. But I'm mostly doing like humor and crime, because that's really where I'm interested right now. So that's how I decide it's like content level.
Humor and crime. That's
humor is crime. Yeah.
That's fucked up.
Well, yeah.
Okay, I already have my therapist telling me that. You don't need to double down.
No, see, that's what I like, because obviously, if you looked at even the cover for the book I sent, humorous crime it cracks me up. The darker, the better. And you said that in
police department is humorous crime. I mean, that's
in your description, or at the bottom it said like something like unabashedly dark comedy or something like that. I think
unflinching.
It was an
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one is. I mean, the Killhaven Police series is very dark. Because it should be, I mean, like there's a scene in the first book where this gangbanger werebear has been shot through the head with an arrow, and they just start making bear puns on scene. Like it's really dark because that's kind of the nature of being law enforcement. You have to. You have to use understatement and dark humor to cope with all the trauma you encounter.
Yeah. Otherwise,
my brother was a jailer for a while, and he would do that kind of stuff too. So it's like, so they shot him with an arrow. Obviously, this guy, they wanted his picnic basket. So
yeah.
But that takes a really. How long is your husband been in police officer?
6 years. Yeah,
and which actually is pretty good for a job where people burn out.
I have no idea what you're talking about. He really got into it because police are so beloved. And he wanted to be in a line of work where he was just really revered by society.
And so he's living the dream.
So don't step down from retail.
Yeah.
But that gallows sense of humor is definitely something that a lot of these kind of things have in common. I mean, writers, we have it because of our personal demons, and then society foists the personal demons onto the people that help us. So we all get to be screwed up through all this kind of thing.
Coping mechanisms. I mean, that's the way it is, But okay. So what question should we ask you that we haven't?
Oh my gosh. I don't know.
What should we be buying? Do you have?
What should you be buying? Well, I do have the audiobooks for Killhaven Police are about to start dropping. But if you want to check that out, you can go. All of my books are at ffs.media. That's my that is my production or my publication business. That's where I do all of my author services too. So if you want to see like some free stuff, free tips and that sort of thing, videos and all that, or courses or whatever, you don't have to buy anything, but that's all at ffs.media. So you can find my fiction and my nonfiction there.
And so FFS, I'm assuming, is Fun Fiction Stories.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that in the background. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I can take a swing at what that should get there.
Brand name. Yeah.
But my question wasn't really posed towards selling. My question was honestly, what would you think that we should ask you?
Well, yeah, what didn't we ask? Because I don't know. I mean, it's always good to have at least one question nobody's asked you before. So maybe that.
Well, I mean, I could ask plenty, I'm sure of that, but
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what you need to know about me.
Okay, I'll do it the Dan Rather style then.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So the Dan Rather style is like this. Okay, so you're an author.
Mm-hmm.
You're a wife. You're you're the wife of a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
You've all that kind of stuff, right? But who are you?
Yeah, or we can do the Barbara Walters style.
Into that.
So if you were an ice cream flavor, what would you be? Yeah.
We're not doing that one. I'm lactose intolerant. Come on, be sensitive here.
It's rum raisin. I can already tell.
Ew. Okay, well, fuck you too. Exactly. Rum raisin. No, I would say that I think what a lot of people don't know about me is I'm actually like a pretty severe recovering perfectionist. And that was like that, I think, is why I got into humor, because it's always been this really fun place where I can say things and I can experiment. And humor has been my way of like dealing with my perfectionism, because what it is I'm really good at finding flaws. And so rather than being like, oh, you're like a complete mess, Claire, you can't do anything right, I'm like, oh, what if I turned it like outward, and then we did satire where we find the flaws in society and then we make fun of those because we want to improve it. So a lot of what I do comes from that perfectionism, and like I'll never not be a perfectionist, but I've developed some really good tools, and writing is one of them.
Yeah, and if you're listening earlier, I mean, I really did go crashing into an aisle in the grocery store today. So, it's those kind of things where you have to be like, you either laugh about it or you're like, this is my parents' fault because they didn't hug me in 3rd grade. They should have taught me how to ride a bike sooner.
Well, it's also my parents' fault. I mean,
that's what all of
it's my fault and it's my parents' fault. Yeah,
I'm messing up my daughter on purpose.
I remember people asking me about their delivery of their books, and they're just like, "Oh, but this isn't perfect. This isn't right." I was talking to a guy at the 20 Books conference actually, and this was 2 years ago, and I had talked to him the year prior. Science fiction. I don't want to call him an author because he isn't yet. Or he might be now, but he wasn't then. And I said, hey, last time I talked to you was a year ago, and you were working on your science fiction book. How many have you published? And he's like, oh, I'm still working on it. I'm just like, really? Is this like a big epic, like 500,000 word thing or something? No, it's targeted like 50,000 words. I said, do you like one word a day? I mean, what's going on there? And he was just like, well, it's just not perfect. I got to have it. It's got to be perfect. And I was just like, so you're the guy who's never going to release a book then. And he was just like, what do you mean? I said, look, we've all been there. This has to be perfect. This has to be perfect. This has to be perfect and everything else, or I can't release it. Well, the problem is you're never going to release it. Eventually you got to get to the point where you go, look, the story is the story. That's the most important part. The story. And if you're going to screw up, there's going to be a typo, there's going to be a grammatical mistake, and you can have 5,000 people look at it. Believe me, I do. And you'll still have somebody come back and say, you screwed up right here. And he's like, son of a bitch. And yes, it irritates you. But the reality is you're never going to release a book. If you try to go for perfectionism, it's just not going to happen. And not only that, you're then going to try to apply that perfectionism to each one of your characters, which means they're going to be 2-dimensional and boring as shit. So it's not going to work. And so I said to the guy, what's really going on here? And so he was going in deeper with everything. And it comes down to it that he loves his job and he's afraid to get this. He loves his job and he's afraid that if he becomes successful at as an author, he'll have to quit his job. I'm like, where'd you get that? I was like, how many words can you write a day? He goes, oh, I usually write like 5,000 words a day. And you have a full-time job. He's like, yeah. I'm like, what's the problem? Write 5,000 words a day, clean them up, publish your books. And if you become super successful at that, great, keep your job and do that. And that way you have fuck you money. So if your boss ever does give you too much shit, you just say, I'm out. And then you go find another job that you really like, and so on. And so finally he was just like, yeah, I guess I'll do this. I said, here, I'll make it easy for you. You say you're an author, you're at an author's conference, but you've not published anything. And it's been 2 years. So don't come back next year unless you published, because you're not an author. And he was just like, oh, now he got a year off. So he's got to buy. If he shows up this year at 20 books without a published book, we're going to have a deeper discussion.
Yeah, you point him out to me. I'll be there. You point him out to me. I'll go have a word with him about perfectionism. Coming? I am. I'll be there. Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah. Do you go to any of the other conferences?
I mean, not this year,
yeah,
but I do sometimes. I'm going to 20 books mostly because I have, clients there, friends there who I haven't seen in a long time.
Sure. So. And we're planning to go to NINC. NINC is kind of pissing off a lot of people right now, but whatever. They basically told people about you can sign up for the conference as long as you're, like in this small group, and like, oh, well, what, you don't follow the group's posts all the time? No, I don't fucking follow it all the time. Everything else. And so they allowed like N number of people to show up. And so if you happen to follow all of their things, every magical fart they release, then boom, you got the notification. Otherwise you didn't. So a lot of authors have been banding together and saying, we're crashing. And so they're just going to show up anyway. And it's like, well, you're not, we'd rather you didn't. Well, oh shit. So we want to go to Florida.
Yeah.
Well, now it's John's turn on the couch, so it's not just me. We're all screwed up.
True.
I gotta ask though. The giraffe. I have to know.
Yeah, that is Asha, and my editor gave me that as a sort of celebration for the end of the Jessica Cray series, because she has a thing with giraffes throughout the story.
Oh, cool.
And she has one that sits on her little, checkout counter when she eventually opens her bakery. And so its name is Asha, and it just sits there. And so she gave me a very large giraffe as like a congrats for finishing the series after 5 years.
So sad moment. Did you hear about the giraffe that they had to put down?
Who?
The giraffe had arthritis, I think. My wife was telling me about this morning, and
its neck.
Ouch. So they actually had to put it to sleep, which is sad. So sorry to add this.
So
anything else?
A fun fact about animal cruelty.
Right. Anything else in my background that'll make you trigger a memory of animal death? Anything? No,
I was actually going to build this, and you kind of brought this back up though, with the perfectionism and the ending of the series and stuff. Did that give you any special challenges? Because I've just finished wrapping up the series, and the last book took me a year because I'm like, I have to nail this bit, got to get this one, all this. So I mean, what was it like as someone trying to be a recovering perfectionist? I guess
it was a fucking nightmare, actually.
Okay, so preach, sister. Where it's not just me.
I had to give myself 18 months to write the last book. So I put the pre-order date way in advance because
That's a great pose to freeze in.
I'm totally taking a picture of that. Yeah. So I got a picture of that. Let me send that to her. Let's say she might have been knocked off for some reason. You froze. Not flatteringly either. So I just messaged her. Anyway, I probably at this point should remove her from the room, but it's funny. All right, I'll not be a dick. Maybe she's back in the bookstore. She had that bookstore trigger.
Yeah. we're bringing back repressed memories. This is it's like What About Bob? We've got like death therapy going on.
My God. That's terrible. Whew, that's good stuff. Oh man. Anyway,
this could be our new. We could switch into author therapy, where we just force people to relive the most horrible things we can think of.
Oh, that was funny. Anyway,
Hi.
I had nothing to do with it, so just putting it out there.
Did you see the picture I sent you?
No.
Yeah, this is what you look like. We spent the last like 2 minutes laughing our asses off at this picture because you froze in such an unflattering way.
Yeah, put that on my gravestone.
Anyway,
if I go missing, that's the photo I want.
See, now we're tying into Martha Cars, where I accused her of having bodies in her garden. So there's a theme to our podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, my garden beds are about human size, but no reason.
Yeah. So you were talking, because this was getting extremely interesting to me. Would you mind humoring us in talking about the perfectionism bit on the last flip again?
Sure. Yeah.
Just for shits and giggles, because I was having fun.
Yep. It was going to be a big thing.
You just locked up again.
Oh God!
I was like, this is the phrase. I said the secret word that pisses off Facebook, and it.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
Can you? You can see me. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Now you can. Yeah.
I'll talk like this. So if I freeze, it'll be cute.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just I had to bring a lot of threads together on that one.
Right.
And I wanted to do it right because basically I frame it, at the start of book 2, she's told that she has to bring peace to the United States. And she's like, peace to the world? No. Like, have you seen the Middle East? That's not happening anytime soon. Peace to the United States. So that sets up the whole arc for the rest of the series. So I had to figure out, how do I have this character bring peace to the United States? And for a long time, she doesn't know what that even means. She's like, we have peace. And so it becomes, her really understanding of, yes, she's kind of experienced this stuff. It's never to feel other people are experiencing other stuff that she's not experiencing. So it's sort of that transferred empathy that she's developing. So I needed to figure out how to answer that question of bringing peace to the United States in the last book, which I was like, well, fuck you, past Claire, for writing me into this hole.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So I eventually came up with a sneaky little bit of
she
trickery.
Killed everybody, so there was peace.
Yes.
There was nobody.
Yeah. It was the end of The Stand, just a big fucking bomb. Hand of God. Yeah.
There you go.
Sorry, spoiler alert for The Stand, but I think I just saved everyone like 1,200 pages.
Yeah, if you haven't seen about 500 adaptations of that one by now, so sorry. Yeah. But yeah, that's interesting, because that's what I just went through, and I was feeling honestly kind of shitty that it had taken me a year to wrap up something that should have been done, pretty quickly. But I'm like, yeah, you planted this seed in book 2, you did this one in 3, and then you twisted it in 4. So you're really an asshole to yourself. So, and then that's kind of cool to hear that. Well, I feel bad for your journey too, but at least we're all in the same. We're all in the same turd stained bookstore. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, it was helpful because I finished 3 series pretty much back to back, and was working with a lot of authors finishing their series, and so I was able to develop a pretty good formula for writing a really satisfying ending. And so now that's something that I can teach other people too.
That's cool.
Awesome.
And so you didn't have a moment where
I'm calling the cops.
He does this to everyone. I'm trying to think, because I was wearing, what was it, a shirtless wrestling, or not shirtless, sleeveless wrestling shirt or something, and he snapped a picture. Like, I can't believe you wore this to an interview thing. Like, well, I didn't know it was an interview. And I just thought I was being comfortable, and he's like, yep, this is going on Facebook.
From now on, anytime somebody says, yeah, I heard that somebody shit in the bookstore.
You're such an asshole.
Gonna be a meme now. and see, I got the fuck you for rum raisin, so it's like Jack Sparrow. I don't know that I deserved that. Yeah. So before you freeze again, we should probably wrap up. But this has been a lot of fun.
Do you know if Martha's doing the? Should have asked her this, I guess. Doing the summit again? If so, are you going to attend or?
Well, she lives a street over from me, so probably.
Exactly.
Right.
Sort of like a football.
So why did you need your own garden plot? You could just use hers. Is it getting full like an arsenic and old lace?
Well, yeah. No, you put endangered plants over it, and they can't dig it up.
Yeah, I think they said the same thing.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So from April 12th to April 23rd, I am on jury duty call or whatever.
Fun.
See, now that's what I think. At first I was just like, nah, but now I'm going. And so my wife had jury duty a couple of years ago, and they were asking her all these questions. What do you do for a living? What do you do? And I'm like, author. What do you write? Paranormal Police Department. What's that? Bringing bad people to justice. You're off. Any suggestions?
Yeah, I don't know. I would never make it onto a jury.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
You
couldn't. Right. Exactly. But,
although I think I would be a great juror. I think I'd be amazing at it, and I
would
definitely
find everybody
I could hijack
guilty.
the jury.
See, that's the kind of thing that you say, and then they go next.
I know. Well, no. I would just go and I would be like, no, I actually really love HOAs.
Yeah, I have no opinion.
And they'd be like,
"Ooh,
this white woman is who we want."
Yeah, exactly. Karen's in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's just like I just believe the past used to be better in all ways. Yeah.
So for me, honestly, I'm like, you could literally be called in every day between the 12th and the 23rd. So they're like call you in on the 12th, and they say, you're out, right? And they call you in again on the 13th. I mean, you got to go every fucking day, possibly, right? You have to call them.
Almost like a job, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a freaking, it's just like, no, who's going to pay my house payment? Just out of curiosity. Yeah. Anybody here? But anyway, I'm not actually trying to get off the jury. That sounded wrong.
Or get the jury off.
Totally different thing. But
it's a lot of people.
It's a hey, you know what? You got to make the money.
That's why you need the octopus.
Yeah.
There you go. See, that's comedy. People bring it all back in. And,
yeah, they won't be 12 angry men after that.
Exactly. And anybody who thinks that's a terrible thing. Sorry, recurring. Anyhow,
there we go. He got the double deuce, so I feel better now.
But I'm actually kind of, I used to be in the past like so against it, like, oh, I don't want to do that. But I'm like, whatever. Maybe I'll learn something. Maybe it's something I can use. Obviously not during the trial, but maybe. So
tell me, why did you bash his head in with a hammer? Hypothetically, I've got this chapter where I'm stuck. So
exactly.
Can I get the transcript of this? Can you just email me the transcript when you're done?
Can I take some pictures?
Yeah. Can we get a selfie? Yeah.
Well, so you're an author. Yeah. It's like, okay, what do you write? Urban fantasy, comedy, police procedural type stuff. Police procedural type stuff. Yeah, well, I watch a lot of Perry Mason. I watch Boston Legal. I watch, all of these things. I love this stuff. It's so great. The guy's always done it, but how?
Yeah.
We base it all on Barney Miller, so that's our philosophy.
It always turns out the guy did it, but how do they prove it? That's the thing I'm interested in.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to go out and try and crack the case after hours. Actually, I think you guys probably missed something.
Exactly. Yeah. All you have to do is say, "I think I'd be a great juror." Next.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, you probably know a little bit about it just because your husband probably has to spend a lot of time in court for cases and stuff, right?
He goes occasionally. I mean, it's not much that he has to do. Just yes, no, don't lie in court.
He just lets everybody off free. Like, no, they didn't speed. I didn't care that day. I had a bad mood, so I didn't show up to court. Okay.
No, they have to show up to court. They get in big trouble if they don't.
Yeah. I actually am kind of looking forward to it. I mean, I've never done it. I've been, on the call list forever. But every time I call the night before, no, we don't need you. So you've served your duty for 2 years. This is the first time I've ever seen it. It's usually just one day. This is over the course of freaking 11 days. It's like, what? So But whatever. I mean, if it happens, it happens. I'm not actually stressed about it. As I told, my wife, I was like, hey, at least they get the fuck out of the house. It's been over a year, since I have. So actually,
so maybe they have the backlog.
Today is my 1-year anniversary at being at home.
Wow.
Congrats.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. It's just like, we were talking about this with somebody, the DNA testing or something like that, because we did the Ancestry or whatever 23andMe, and they said, oh no, but you could get framed for something. And I was like, if I got framed for some crime in Iowa, for something like that, and they said, oh, you're going to jail for a year, at least to get the fuck out of the house. I mean, that's kind of how you look at it at this point. But no, literally today is my 1-year anniversary of being home. I've only left twice since April 3rd of last year for doctor's appointments, and even then it was one was a flu shot outside. And the other one, it was like this crazy spacing thing that they did and all this kind of stuff. And they're like, how do you feel? I'm like, I feel like shit. All right, we'll take some antibiotics. Sounds good, or whatever. Right? That kind of thing. And then the only other thing was 2 weeks ago when I got my first vaccine. And nice. By the way, on that, they say, get shot wherever you want. Doesn't mean hang your ass out the door, including your quick and berries. You don't want to do that. They actually want to get you the shot there.
Yeah.
So
I don't know that it's going to be an issue for Claire as much, but for the twig and berries, but don't ask, don't tell. Have a good time.
I get my second shot Tuesday, so
awesome.
I will get mine after Hell Freeze is over because they've said that foreigners don't matter. So yeah, this is going to be fun. I wanted to throw in something depressing too.
They say the same thing here.
Well, yeah, but I'm used to having the privilege. I'm a white male. I'm not supposed to have any hardships.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah.
Bless your heart.
I know this is just so unfair. How do people handle that? Yeah.
All right. So it is 12:20. We usually wrap these up around now and such, but it's been great having you on. I'm looking forward to seeing you this year at 20 Books. We're planning to be there too. I've already made hotel reservations and all that.
He's using the royal we. I don't have any money to go anywhere, but I'll wave like on a camera if he points the phone at you or something.
But so we'll it depends on what the CDC says, obviously, that whole thing. But the goal is to go. So it'll be great to see you there and hang out.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm looking forward to seeing people.
Right.
Thanks so much for having me on.
At a distance. Yeah. Good to see you too. You too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yes, stick around after we go off too. Because
just hang on for a second. All right. Thanks to everybody for joining us this weekend. And hopefully you guys have a good holiday if you celebrate that stuff. And if not, well, hopefully you have a good weekend anyway. And we shall see you guys next time. Bye.